Hi, my presentation is entitled Don't Talk About It, Co-Occurring Disorders in the AA Community. Now first I have to issue this disclaimer because everything I'm presenting here is my opinion, my observations, and they're based on my experience only. Nothing I am about to say is officially linked with Alcoholics Anonymous or any other organization and is not meant to demean, criticize, or otherwise affect anyone regarding the effectiveness of any path to recovery. AA says that Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy, and that is from the book 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, part of the 10th tradition, short form. I was at an AA meeting recently, and there was a young man who had been ambushed to speak for 20 minutes or so about his alcoholism, and then the remainder of the meeting was devoted to discussing his talk, alcoholism, recovery, etc. At one point during his talk, he mentioned that he is and has been on medication for a co-occurring disorder that he has had since childhood, long before he ever began to drink. But he quickly stated that it was an outside issue and went no further with the subject. As the group discussion progressed after his talk, I said that my belief is that anything that affects addiction or alcoholism, either in or out of recovery, is not an outside issue. I believe that the term outside issues has been misinterpreted from its original meaning, as I earlier stated or read. It is my opinion that this statement refers to political, economic, religious, temperance, prohibition, and other related issues and concerns that could have caused the organization difficulties and could have diluted its focus, but that it has been misunderstood by many AA members to cover any topic not specifically outlined in AA literature, particularly topics like co-occurring disorders that might be uncomfortable to members of AA. In the readings we have done up to this point in class, co-occurring disorders are not an outside issue to the approximately 45% of alcoholics who deal with them on a daily basis and which affect their sobriety from the standpoints of achieving and maintaining it all the way to enjoying and having as full and complete a recovery as possible. In my 30 years of being in and out of the AA community, I have been to speaker meetings, meetings devoted to AA literature, discussion meetings, men's meetings, meetings in many states and 2 countries. Over the years, I have seen many changes in what topics, issues, and other facets of life have been allowed, if you will, to be discussed at AA meetings. I remember when talking about the use of drugs other than alcohol was frowned upon, even prohibited, at certain AA meetings because, as the old-timers at the time said, AA is for pure alcoholics only. The good news is that this has changed as the understanding and acceptance of cross-addiction has become more and more a part of mainstream AA culture. Unfortunately, it is still my experience that co-occurring disorders and mental health issues remain one of the last discussion taboos in the 12-step recovery community, which is a shame given the fact that so many alcoholics have either been diagnosed with or are not diagnosed with co-occurring disorders yet. I have heard statements resembling these in my time around 12-step programs. If you're clinically depressed, you're suffering from untreated alcoholism, or you're on a dry drunk. If you take medications, you're not really sober. If you would just work your program, you'd get over your diagnosis. Don't share at meetings about your struggles with your diagnosis as it affects you, because it's an outside issue. All of the answers are in the big book. You don't need any other help. I've even seen some members who have been fired by sponsors who are an advisor after a mental health crisis because they weren't working their program. As stated in AA literature, there are those too who suffer from grave mental and emotional disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. This to me shows that the founders of AA at least had an intrinsic understanding of that co-occurrence of mental health disorders existed, but that was about the extent of their recognition. AA itself characterizes alcoholism as being a threefold disease: physical, spiritual, and mental. It has been my experience that while AA gives a lot of time and attention to the physical act of staying sober, and also to its conception of the spiritual aspect of addiction, with its insistence upon relying on a higher power, i.e. God, it has never really given any more than lip service to the mental health aspect of alcoholism and addiction, as evidenced above. Yes, it talks about a mental obsession, and even talks about the use of outside therapists or medical help, but all too often when members try to talk about their own struggles, there is an uncomfortable silence that I attribute to the overall societal discomfort in talking about mental health issues, which AA is not immune from. For people who have co-occurring disorders, being told directly or by inference that the disorders they have to live with on a daily basis and which affect their recovery are outside issues must make them feel like they're being dismissed and invalidated for who they are as recovering alcoholics and human beings. Therefore, I would encourage anyone who is living with a co-occurring disorder and who uses AA as a support for their recovery to be upfront about their situation and what steps they are taking to deal with it, particularly when it influences, interferes with, or affects in any way their sobriety, and to not let the prevailing folk wisdom of many people in AA, who are quite possibly avoiding looking beyond their own alcoholism, to discourage them from talking about very serious issues. As AA itself has helped countless numbers of people achieve, maintain, and enjoy sobriety, lessen the stigmas and stereotypes regarding alcoholism, I would hope that within the rooms of recovery, honest, open discussion of co-occurring disorders will do the same and help promote a more holistic view of recovery and possibly help even more people. For reference for this, I refer to the Alcoholics Anonymous literature, the Big Book, the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, and a pamphlet entitled Problems Other Than Alcohol, and the SAMHSA report, which we have read for this class from 2002. Thank you.